every single corner of Sicily argues passionately about the exact right way to shape their most famous street food. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the deliciously crispy, centuries-old tradition of arancini to uncover the history, the science, and the closely guarded recipes behind Sicily's absolute most addictive bite. The whole debate really boils down to this one question. Should an arancini be perfectly round, like a small orange, or should it be shaped into a sharp, structural cone? Well, we're going to thoroughly test both versions to see which shape truly reigns supreme. But before we get into the great debate, just imagine this experience for a second. You bite into a crispy, golden shell that completely shatters, revealing this creamy rice, a super rich meat ragù, and stretchy mozzarella cheese perfectly hidden inside. You're literally tasting centuries of Sicilian tradition in a single portable bite. Now, we all know certain regions completely own specific dishes, right? Like pizza firmly belongs to Naples, and carbonara is the undisputed king of Rome. Well, arancini, they are the ultimate proud symbol of Sicilian identity. You'll find these dangerously addictive golden rice balls literally everywhere on the island. Train stations bubbling away in street markets, piled high in local bakeries, and lovingly crafted in family kitchens. They're basically the golden soul of Sicily. And over the last 1,000 years, arancini have evolved dramatically. Back between the 9th and 11th centuries, Arab rule completely transformed Sicilian cuisine by introducing rice, saffron, and new spices. Then, moving into the agrarian era, locals really needed a practical way to carry their meals out to the fields for long, hard work days. Their genius solution? Wrap that saffron rice around flavorful fillings, coat the whole thing in breadcrumbs, and fry it up to create its own golden edible container. It was the ultimate portable meal. They actually named them arancini, from the Italian word for little oranges, because those finished round rice balls looked exactly like the small citrus fruit. But fast forward to the present day, and the island is famously split. In eastern Sicily, around Catania, cone-shaped versions are the absolute standard. But over in the west, around Palermo, the traditional round arancini dominate. And trust me, everyone insists their version is the historically correct one. All right, let's get into mastering the golden recipe and crafting 12 perfect arancini. To build these from scratch right in your own kitchen, we're looking at 3 key components. First up, the base. Starchy arborio rice cooked in a rich stock infused with saffron, Parmesan, and butter. Second is the filling, a really hearty mix of ground beef, onions, peas, and cubed mozzarella simmered in tomato sauce. And finally, that all-important coating. Flour, beaten eggs, and an absolute mountain of breadcrumbs. The prep actually relies on 5 distinct steps. First, you cook your rice in the saffron stock, stirring until all that liquid is absorbed. Mix in the butter and Parmesan, spread it out on a tray, and, this is crucial, you must let it cool completely. Step 2, cook your onion until soft, thoroughly brown the beef, add the tomato sauce and peas, and simmer it down until it's nice and thick. Again, cool it down before using. Step 3 is the fun part. Grab a handful of the cold rice, flatten it out slightly in your palm, add your filling and mozzarella cubes, cover it with a bit more rice, and seal it up carefully. Actually, for a little shape debate, you can make half of them round and half cone-shaped. Step 4, roll each shape in flour, dip it in the beaten egg, and coat it generously in those breadcrumbs. Finally, step 5. Heat your oil to 175 degrees Celsius, that's 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and fry them until they're deeply golden, which usually takes about 4 to 5 minutes. Then just drain them on paper towels. But hey, before you start cooking, we need to talk about avoiding these 4 incredibly common mistakes that will absolutely ruin the dish. First, warm rice. Like I said, your rice has to be completely chilled. Otherwise, it turns to mush and your arancini will just fall apart right in your hands. Second, overfilling. I know it's so tempting to pack in as much ragù as humanly possible, but it makes sealing them nearly impossible and they will literally burst in the fryer. No one wants that. Third, low oil temperature. If your oil isn't sitting right at that sweet spot, the breadcrumbs will just drink up the oil, leaving you with a heavy, greasy mess instead of a crisp shell. And fourth, a thin breadcrumb coating. You want maximum crunch here, guys, so coat them generously. Which brings us right to the heart of the regional debate. Team round from Palermo versus Team cone from Catania. Look, the science of a sphere means it's undeniably easier to shape in your hands. It also maximizes the internal volume, meaning you get way more room for filling, and that uniform surface area gives you an incredibly crisp exterior all the way around. But let's look over at the cone-shaped version. This shape has deep, deep traditional roots in the eastern parts of Sicily. It gives the street food a highly distinct, recognizable look. And arguably, the tapered shape actually offers better filling distribution. As you bite down from the tip to the base, the ratio of rice to filling changes dynamically. So after carefully testing both shapes, I can confidently tell you, honestly, they are both absolutely incredible. The real winner is just whoever gets to take the first bite. When you bite into them, the sound is amazing. You can literally hear the crunch of that golden exterior giving way. Inside, regardless of the shape, the saffron rice is so creamy, the ragù is deeply rich and savory, and that hidden mozzarella stretches beautifully with every single bite. It's comforting, it's the very definition of portable, and man, is it dangerously addictive. Now you probably understand why Sicily loves these things so much. Over there, arancini aren't just some casual street food. They are a deeply rooted way of life. Locals will grab these for breakfast with a quick coffee, for a working lunch, as an afternoon snack, or even for late-night meals after being out on the town. Some local bakeries are so famous for their specific techniques that they successfully sell literally thousands of them every single day. To put that into perspective, that is an incredible amount of rice and ragù. And the family recipes for those components are heavily guarded secrets, proudly passed down through generations. So, I have to ask, which team are you joining? Are you team round, going for that perfect sphere of crispy perfection? Or are you team cone, embracing the distinct tradition of Eastern Sicily? Tell us in the comments down below. It really begs the ultimate question. When a recipe has survived 1,000 years of history, do you strictly follow the rules, or do you invent your own shape? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on our next culinary adventure. Keep tasting the world.